And hello, welcome to One Broadway Collaborative. I'm Aaron Tornberg, and I'm here today with an extremely talented musician named Faith Ann. How are you doing, Faith?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Faith was just here on, what was it, the 16th of October?
Yep.
With three other bands, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, 4 bands.
Yep.
And was fantastic, and we all had a good time. And you were dressed as the little doll from Saw, which was awesome.
Yeah, it was so funny how nobody recognized me. Even my guitarist, when he pulled up, I was like, "Oh, you can just park over here." And he's like, "Oh, who the heck is this?" I was like, "Oh, hi." He's like, "Oh my god!" And then my friend from the other band didn't even realize it was me. He's like, "Where's Faith? Like, her band's here, but like, where's she?"
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I recognized you instantly.
Yeah, well, plus I have short hair, and a lot of people that I know I've only met since I've had short hair, and so people don't always recognize me when I have like long hair.
Right. And but it was creative to do that, and it's the spiral. That's what sort of distinct about that image. So for those of you who are not horror fans, we're talking about the movie Saw, where there's this doll in Saw that Faith dressed like, which was just so awesome. Yeah. I was goofy for like 5 minutes, and then I took the hat off. But
yeah, it got warm with everyone moving, and
right,
everyone breathing, and
well, we had the dinosaur bass player.
Oh,
right?
Kurt, yep.
Yeah, and he ended up taking off the dinosaur and playing in his underwear pretty much the rest of the set.
That banana hammock has seen a few stages.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's classic Kurt. Dinosaur with a roar at the end.
He's great.
Yeah, he's funny.
So anyway, let's talk about where you're from.
So I'm from Nashville, New Hampshire. I lived there for my childhood, and then I lived in Manchester for like a little bit, and then moved to Hollis, and now I live in Manchester, so I've kind of just been circling the southern New Hampshire region.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I live there too. I'm in Salem.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So.
I like Salem.
Yeah, it's a nice little town.
Yeah.
And if you want to go shopping, you got pretty much anything right there. But
it's a nice drive through there, too, with the lake and everything. And
oh, yeah.
I used to kind of go by there because when I was going to college, I was driving to Lowell from Nashua from work, and I lived in Nashua, too, so I'd kind of go that back way, the Hudson and stuff, and you can truck off to Salem.
111, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
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 So, you went to school in New Hampshire as well, and
yep, I went to a lot of different schools when I was young, because I was living in different places, and kind of like custody of me was being changed a whole bunch, and that was kind of interesting. But I went to college in Lowell, and I didn't hang out there too much, but I'd go out sometimes, so I know the Lowell region a little bit. And before, like, the clubbing days, when I worked at like a club for like 2 weeks, that was not my jam. But the DJs at the club or whatever would be my friend, and they'd sneak me in. I wouldn't be old enough, and that would be out in Lowell, like back in the day, like Brian's Ivy and all where the cobblestones are. And there was a couple of my classmates or whatever, were in a apartment that was like right across from this sorority, and it was everywhere. So I did get to taste a little bit, but yeah, I went to school, South New Hampshire.
Wow. And you went to Southern. I thought you went to UMass.
Just in
Lowell?
the region, yeah. I went to UMass Lowell, yeah. And then I went. It was funny being back in a school when I was teaching, because I ended up teaching high school at one of the schools that I went to, and some of the teachers were like my teachers, and I recognized them, and I got to work with them.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was fun. And
so you're an educator?
I was an educator. Yep, I was an engineer for like 8 years or something like that, and then I left that and was a high school teacher. I taught algebra And that I left that when the whole distant learning stuff happened. I was like, nope.
I'm in education as well, so
it's very rewarding.
Yeah,
it's a lot of talented young kids, and like so much potential in it. And it really was so much more enriching to be around that than it was when I was in the office. And you have people that are like, they're at the end, like there's no like hope. They're not like, oh, when I grow up, I'll be doing all these awesome things. Everyone's like, I hate my life. We're going to go home and mow the lawn and listen to my wife yell at me or whatever. It's like, there is some of that, but, just as a whole, the kids are all excited. Their friends are all there. Mm-hmm. And, you get some good relationships with them and like, good friendships. And, it's fun to watch them blossom. Some of them, from, like, freshman year, and then you get to see them like walk across the stage and you're like want to cry because you feel like you're their mom and you're like, I love you. But I definitely miss that, and it's been fun getting back in touch with like that younger generation. With COVID, everyone was so separated, and I missed having that influence. And now like people are starting to gather, and my son and I started skateboarding, and when I was younger and I like lived in Nashville, I hung out at the skate park all the time, but not because I wanted to skateboard. It was just like a place to be. My friends were there. My drunk dad wasn't, so I was like, I'm gonna go hang out here. And all the little hood rat stuff we do in the skate park, and now like being 30 at the skate park with my 10-year-old son and seeing all those little boys, but then seeing like the other generation of like, okay, these kids are doing the hood rat stuff, and like these little kids are like just having fun, and like then there's like the adults that are like, we have all our elbow pads on. You can tell like who started like in their 30s and like who just is still skating in their 30s. They don't have the pads on.
I have to admit, I tried rollerblading recently, and I didn't have pads, and I got about 2 feet, and there was a hill, and I fell on my back.
Oh, yeah.
And luckily it was my back and not my head.
I wear a helmet.
I bought pads and helmet the next day, and I haven't been skating since.
Yeah, and it's a mental thing, too. Like when you trick your brain to think you're safer, right. You're like more relaxed, and you.
Well, also you have to know how to fall on rollerblades.
Oh, right. You can't jump off the blades.
You have to like fall on your knees.
That's why you wear the knee pads.
Right, which I learned after I fell on my back.
Yeah. Yeah. And even having like the wrist pads, because then sometimes you go down, people break their wrists.
Right.
Like take it. Oh, no, thank you. Don't want any of that.
Yeah, I don't think at this age doing that is kind of a mistake.
Yeah. Well, it was funny because my daughter, she's just like a couple inches shorter than me at this point, and then one of my former students, she's now like our families are friends now because I was her teacher, she's my student and stuff, and so her and my daughter are like taking turns like holding my hand so I could drop in again because I just couldn't like bring myself to lean forward. It was so frustrating. But I felt like 3 years old having my daughter and my student hold my hand dropping.
Hey, if they can help.
And now I drop in on small stuff, and it's like it's so cool because it's, anything that you have to really get in your head and realize, okay, do I want this or do I just want to complain about how I want it? It's like you realize you try something and you're holding back, and that's why you can't do it. Like there's a little bit of fear, like, oh, I don't want to whack my shins, or like, and that's the thing that stops you from doing it well, And so if you're in your head like, I'm just going to do it, then you do it most times, and it's kind of like a metaphor for life too, so it's cool.
You seem to have a lot of courage in doing some of the things you're doing, because you were talking to me about how you just bought a small school bus for touring, and you've been fixing it or getting it fixed for a while, and pouring money into this old school bus as an idea that you're going to tour with it, and I think that's awesome. It's really cool.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm good with numbers and just like finances, luckily. And my retirement plan is just that, is to not need money and to like have land that I can have the bus on and like do whatever I want with the land. But it's funny, it's like some people see it as like courage or like you must be brave, but in my head it's just like the ultimate form of stubbornness, of just like, you know that Beauty and the Beast movie when Belle's like, there must be more than this bridge? That's like me in my life. Like every morning I'm like, okay, when I was a kid, I thought life was going to be this way. And so like, I'm just going to figure it out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you did something that I really enjoyed doing, which is just deciding one day, hey, I'm going to drive. I don't have anywhere to be. So I'm going to go on a little trip, and you like just drive around. And I'm assuming you play when you drive around.
Yeah. One time when I went to Florida, I'm on my way down, and I like lost my voice the second day, so I didn't end up playing. But I brought my CDs and like crafts and stuff, and then I set up like a little like hippy dippy little shop on the beach, and it was really cool. And I made some really beautiful memories with like this little girl and this little boy and this, you know, like all these like super cute things. And even though I didn't have a like way to play my music, some people like bought my CDs. I was giving them out on the dock of the like the main beach or wherever where I was. And this lady, I'm like, oh, here, take it. She's like, oh, sure, cool. And so like 10, 15 minutes come by, or however like long goes by. Maybe it had to have been longer because she said she listened to the whole album twice. So maybe it was like an hour or something. And she comes back and she's like, I want to pay you for that CD that you gave me, and I want to get another one for my friend. And I was in the middle of a conversation with this stranger, like selling this other thing. And I was like, that's the coolest thing that's ever happened to me. So that was pretty cool. And kind of like my whole, I've got this song called Tumbleweed, and in it there's a line that says, scatter myself around. And that's kind of like my whole view on life, is just like getting to be that memory that like someone tells. You know, it doesn't matter who I am. Nobody cares like what my birthday is or what my favorite color is. It was just like in that moment, like, man, there was this girl that was like just doing this thing, and then she was gone. You know, it was like,
that is really
beautiful.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, you just prompted yourself. So can you play Tumbleweed?
Oh, totally. I would love to play Tumbleweed.
All right, let's hear it. So this is Faith Ann doing Tumbleweed. Are we in tune?
We are in tune.
Oh. And the capo is nearby.
Yeah,
So
I
that's
recorded
good.
it a half step down, but I've been playing it a little higher, and I kind of enjoy it.
You tune a half step down usually?
So now it's in standard.
Yeah, okay.
Caught in my haste, eager for change, got me tethered and tangled in the roots of my feet are set in their ways. I just can't reckon with giving up precedence. Give me anything long as it's real. Vagabond tumbleweed, blow me away. Oh, lost in my days, in these cycles and circles, and running around cage keeps me ravenous, chained to this wheel. Oh, there's more than it seems. Take me anywhere, just wanna feel. Oh, blow me away. Never refuse. afraid. It's never enough. Give me sun in my wind in my face, and this world's not dead as it seems. What are we waiting for? Can't pretend anymore. Keep me wild, I'm feral and free. Wandering tumbleweed, blow me away. Oh, one and the same. All these make-believe anchors and just like a play. Oh, this tedium fuckery fate. Oh, living my way as I scatter myself around. Oh, blow me
That was great.
Thank you.
You know, it's interesting. When you play, I can hear your band.
Can you?
Because it's the way you sing. I can hear it in the chords and I guess the feel of it. You definitely play with a band. Like I can hear you in your voice. It's the rock attitude. It's really nice.
Thanks. You know, that's one of the songs that I wrote actually before I was playing with the Faith Ann band, but I did write it after I played with other musicians, and I can tell the songs that I wrote before I started playing with other people, and like my chord progressions, and it's really cool that you say you can hear my band because I've put together this sound kind of by accident, you know, that is very much a thumbprint, and it's cool to hear, you know, like you come up with, when I'm writing music, like I'll come up with a song and then there's so much space for other people's thoughts to like mold it into something so much more beautiful than like you could ever imagine, and it's really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I've always done solo singer-songwriter kind of stuff, and my background is more song leading, so I'm a sing-along kind of guy. But I love bands. I mean, you know, when I was in high school, I was big into Iron Maiden and
nice.
Stuff like that.
My first concert was Iron Maiden.
Oh, was it?
At
Which
Ozfest.
Oh, at 2005?
I was 14. That sounds about right.
I was there.
Oh, so
I was there.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had oh my God, I had the gnarliest, I think that was the first time I ever got poison ivy in my life. I had the gnarliest poison ivy all up my leg, and I still wore my fishnets, and like my legs looked like bubble wrap from the, like, it was so gross, but I learned what those beads meant. My dad took me and my guitar teacher, and my brother, I think, and this like, and I pretty much kind of like looked older for like since I was like 14 and stuff, and this guy asked me if I wanted beads, and my dad's like hell she does, and I'm like I don't get it, like what? Now I know.
Yeah, and that concert, I think that was the start of like Sharon Osbourne getting mad at Iron Maiden, and like there's this whole thing where I don't know, she said something or did something, and Iron Maiden got all upset about. I don't know if she threw something at them, and there was this thing in Rolling Stone about how they're feuding, and Iron Maiden hates Ozzy now, and it was really interesting.
I remember Zakk Wylde jumped off the stage and was playing and stuff, and
oh yeah,
that was a good show. I like that.
That was great. And
somebody walked by me. Oh my God, they were moshing. Oh, it was the first time I ever saw it. They got their nipple rings ripped out of this big fat dude, and he was like so sweaty, and he was like walking out to go handle his like nip situation, and like I remember just like him hitting all his sweat and grossness just like rubbing on me, and I was like, man, this is the dream life right here. I just want to be a rock star. No, it was super gross.
My experience was quite different because I was with a pregnant friend and her husband and my wife, and there were flying water bottles, a lot of them. And that was apparently a thing, full ones.
Yeah.
And so they were like throwing these full water bottles at people. And my pregnant friend just said, no, I don't think so. But I remember going down and I saw this guy come down bleeding from being hit in the head with a water bottle. And
gnarly.
Yeah. I don't think, for me, that wasn't that much fun, but I loved the music.
Yeah. It's fun. That was like the first time I ever like witnessed moshing too, and I remember like originally thinking like why do people like that? And then like later in life I was like I like moshing and stuff. And in fact, one of my students was in a metal band, and in a different class this other student was in the same band, and I would go to their shows because they play in Manchester too. Oh, and one time, like, I went to one of their shows, and the next day, one of the kids, like, down the hall, this is, like, my favorite moment teaching, probably. He's like, yo, Miss M, you killed it in the pit last night. I was like, I'm the coolest teacher.
You probably are.
That was so funny.
Yeah, but that's cool that you were there, too.
Yeah.
I remember that was right after Devil's Rejects came out and Rob Zombie played. In the day.
They were on the other stage. That's where I got rubbed on by that dude. And then Wicked Wisdom was there, like Jada Pinkett Smith's other band, and I think Killswitch Engage.
Killswitch Engage.
It was a huge lineup.
Shadows Fall.
Yeah.
That was an awesome show. Just in general, it's amazing. You like walk around and see all these bands, but here I had 4 bands when you were here. I mean, that was pretty awesome too. It's just being able to hear the variety. Of course, Ozfest costs a fortune. Even back then, it was, I don't know, it was like $80 or something. And that's low for now. Oh. Now it's $80 for one show. Mm-hmm. Ozfest was like, a whole weekend pretty much. But
one of the other concerts, I guess this concert was technically my first one, but Rock 101 used to do the Sky Show at Arms Park in Manchester, and it used to be free. And one year, like, Shinedown and Lacuna Coil and stuff played, and I somehow, like, accidentally ended up behind the stage where the food tent was for the band. And I'm like, I love food. Like, I'm like poking my head around, like, trying to see what there is. And the singer for Lacuna Coil and, like, whoever else was there, like, making sandwiches with me. I was like, can you sign my shirt? I was, like, a teenager, so it was pretty cool for me. And, that was one of those moments that kind of stuck with me. And now, after playing, on stage and interacting with a crowd, you realize that those famous, like, Iron Maiden and stuff, like, they're just dudes standing on the stage, like, jamming with their homies. And so it, like, puts a performance in a different light where, like, it's almost like knowing the magician's tricks, like, seeing behind the curtain, kind of. Right. And it's cool because, like, I don't really get very starstruck, but, like, some musicians are performers, like, they put on a great performance. And they're, like, entertaining, they're witty, they're fun to watch, and you're like, they're just, like, so cute, you're like, you're not like, oh my God, like, I need to meet them. You're just like, they're adorable, they're having fun. Like, picture them, like, practicing and, like, sitting down, writing their song just like everybody else. And
going to bed,
I know, wiping their ass. Maybe I don't picture that. I just, like, remind myself that everyone does that.
I'd rather not picture that. The whole idea of performance is so universal, though, because if you look at comparison between, let's say, Pete Seeger, right, who's very folky, plays the banjo, and Ozzy Osbourne, they're similar.
Interesting, yeah.
Because I noticed that actually that year at Ozfest, because Ozzy, that was the first time I'd seen Ozzy live. Mm-hmm. And what he did was the same thing Pete Seeger does almost, where he gets the audience to join in and do call response, which isn't like a unique thing to any one genre. It's just a performance gimmick, and it works no matter what kind of music it is. If you want the audience involved, you get them involved. And there's like in the Queen movie, mm-hmm. right? Same thing. Freddie Mercury is just getting them to participate, and that was even part of the movie, was him talking about that's what makes the performance good, is
right.
It's doing that over and over with the audience,
and everyone has their own instrument right there. So.
Right, and it's awesome to witness somebody who's a master at that.
Yeah, it's definitely inspiring. And I remember my first time like performing as a front person. I remember. Like, sometimes my brain just, like, doesn't put things together. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm going to sing with the band. But my brain didn't, like, understand, like, oh, you're a front person now. Like, you have to, like, be a person, You're like,
right.
Oh, my God.
You're like the face of the band. I mean,
right. You're the whole attitude. You're, like, what people walk away with. And you're like, okay, well, just be myself. I don't know. What is myself? I don't even know who I am. So it was, like, this fun learning curve where you're, like, finding what your stage presence is and like what makes you comfortable and how you can relax yourself if you start getting like nervous. And pretty much if I just start getting nervous, I just say like out loud awkward things and make everyone feel more awkward than I do. So
that's good. You did a good job at the show. You were doing like it's what you do with your voice, I think, is part of your performance. Like it draws people in, and I think you've learned how to do that. It might just be instinctive.
It is not instinctive, no. And I definitely go through phases where I can't even stand the sound of my voice, and like singing is so stressful for me, like as an instrument. And but I love singing. I like it's so freeing and stuff. But I've learned so much about the improper ways that I sing. And I've gotten some vocal coaching, and some of the lessons that I've been taught have been like game changers. And it's super flattering for people that have known me for a while singing recognize like, wow, your enunciation or like your breath control. And I'm like, oh, tell me more. Like, yeah, keep talking to Dirty. Like, yeah, you like them high notes? I worked on that. But like even when we went out to Ohio to record the album, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna stop smoking weed for like a week so that I'm not like dealing with that. But really what it comes down to is like learning. I've learned so much about myself, like my exhaling, like I'll hold really tense, and just being like performing is one of those things that's terrifying, but it's where I'm the most comfortable. Like I'm like with my eyes closed, like hearing my music, just like knowing that there's just like people watching and like vibing with it. Like that's euphoria. Like I couldn't even, but it's super terrifying. So my body is like, my neck tenses and my like body, my shoulders are tense. So right. This one big, huge opera singer tell me, like, put your shoulders down, relax it, like, put your tongue forward, and like, do all this stuff. And I'm like, wow. And one of the things that, birth control I'm working on, but I didn't even know when I was doing my vibrato, I was doing this head shake thing. And the way he described it, he's like, you're just shaking the sound in your skull to make the vibrato instead of using your diaphragm, and that's adding to the tension in your neck and stuff.
Wow.
And then I'm like, looking at videos of myself, I'm like, how did I never notice that? Like, what the hell?
Because you were in your head, right, so you can't see that.
Shaking my skull, yeah.
Right.
So
your head was vibrating, so you couldn't tell.
And now that I'm like taking all these comments and like working with them more, getting to use my voice as an instrument is so exciting. And like when I hear something sounding well and I like know that I've progressed on it, I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And when people say that they can't sing or like I'm not whatever, I'm always like, BS. You sing in the shower, you sing in the car, you can sing, you have a voice. It's not that you can't sing. You might not like the sound of your voice and you're just not your own type. But like all these singers that you hear, there is so much work that you do not know of them practicing and them being frustrated and not liking their voice and all this stuff. And I like sharing that part of my journey because I think it's inspiring when I see other people, pushing through their struggle or just like being honest with like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm doing it and faking it till I figure it out. And then I like when people share their music with me. Like I've got close friends and I shared my guitar with him and he was playing a lot more and he was grateful and, people will reach out like, I would never post like you do, but like you've inspired me to whatever, and then I get to be that memory again,
Right.
just like I'm just that girl, it doesn't matter my name or whatever. It's just like I'm a little spirit, like a little sprite that just like, boop, made you have this little wonderfulness in your brain.
And actually, that's a good way of describing your feed. I mean, I've seen your Instagram feed, and it's like you do these like just things, like posing in different positions and costumes, and I mean,
yeah,
it's interesting. I think that's why you're doing a good job with the marketing. I mean, I think that's important. Like I think that it's not intuitive for me. It's hard for me to want to put myself out there like that.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like you have to be super honest, and I think that's what comes across in your feed is that you're just being you.
Right. And that realness is like something that's unlearned, like when you're small, you don't try to hide like little things. You might try to like hide things that you're not supposed to be doing, but like you're not embarrassed of your smile. Like imagine a toddler that didn't like laugh because they didn't like their teeth. Like what? That's unheard of, And then we're just kind of like taught like, well, when you compare you to this person, you shouldn't do this. Like you should hide yourself. And it's like, where did that even like what? That doesn't even make any sense. So
right.
And that's part of like, so my band is the Faith Ann Band. And I'm named after my mom's best friend who died when she was 18. And so I never met her or anything. But it's profound to me to keep that name in the title because it's not my own. It's a gift to me to honor this. It's a gift to her also, but it's a gift to me, this name of someone that my mom loved very much. And she didn't have the chance to live out that name. She didn't get to do whatever she wanted with it. It wasn't on the paper. It wasn't on the billboards or whatever. And, just because she was not alive, she didn't get to live out those dreams. But there's so many people that are living and they don't let themselves live out their dreams. And, in that Tumbleweed song, I have that line that's like all these make-believe anchors, like all these things that we let us be held back by. And so the first album's called Long Last because I was letting myself be held back by my own insecurities and stuff. And so it's like, finally, I'm coming to. So the band name and the whole vibe is just like that living vicarious. Like if people need to do it through me and that's their release, then I want to be that conduit, like a conduit for that. And for everyone that's like just needed that little push off the edge, I'm gonna karate kick them with love off the edge. So whatever it is, that's kind of the vibe that I try to give across. Like, yeah, I'm goofy too. Look at me be a goof. Like, follow my face.
Yeah, I like it. I like it very much. I think that you also have a personality that sort of draws people in, I think. And I think it's really great the way you perform and the way you like look to your band sometimes and like bring them in with you. Because I noticed when you were performing, that's another thing you were doing is you were acknowledging them. You were like with them. And it's sort of like you are a unit. And I think that's the only way you can play together and be good is if you really listen to each other.
Yeah. And like what I was saying earlier, like when you watch like Iron Maiden,
right?
They're just homies chilling on that stage, like whether or not they're getting along that night, like
right.
They're still family, like there's so much unspoken communication going, like one of us hits the wrong note and no one notices, but like we notice it. We're like, aha, like I know you did that thing that you always do, you know. And there's like this love, like, so my bassist has been in the band the longest, and he also lives with me, and he is possibly the only male friend that I have that I can just speak directly to, and I'm learning a lot about myself and my own reservation to like say what's on my mind. Not that I don't say what's on my mind, but like with their friends, you know, I kind of, instead of talking about what's bothering me, I'll just be quiet, and then it kind of separates the friendship, and then it becomes more estranged and you fade apart. But he's probably my first friend that I just like will be like, I'm feeling this. I know he doesn't want me to feel this, and I don't want to feel this way about him, and I'll just like say whatever's up. And one of my favorite conversations we've had the other day, I'm like, sometimes you say some passive-aggressive shit. He's like, that's just because you're active-aggressive. And I was like, I love you. I've never felt more seen in my life. But, yeah, so it's great having him, you know, be the anchor. And he was the one that was really like, you know, Taylor Swift is Taylor Swift. Like, she has a band behind her, you know, just like have your thing, and, you know, let's find musicians. And that's what I wanted to do when I started trying to be like, okay, I want to be in a band. But I ended up, I was trying to like put together my friends, but it wasn't the time, you know, I didn't have the right connections. Now I friggin' am drowning in talented musician friends. You know, I know so much talented people. Art, it doesn't even matter, like whatever the medium is, artists, you know, and like intelligent people, you know. And so when I joined my first band, it was people I met on Craigslist, but then I started playing with that band, making connections, and then when it came time, I'm like, okay, I want to make a band. And then it's like, I can just kind of pick these people I know and ask them if they want to play music. And
that's great. Yeah, speaking of playing music, you want to do another one?
Yeah. So I just released a single off the second album. This is a favorite of the band's to play, a favorite of mine to play also. This song's called Tree Time.
I'm a passerby, pay me never mind, keep on walking away, counting minutes by, I sit and watch a while, stones know nothing of days, night skies meet my first ever friends, always waiting, chasing, fading in. Sweetly speaks in song and talks and whisper, dream you, breathe you in. I live down below, world that eyes will never know. It cradles me and holds me and it pulls me slowly deeper, tremors quaking underfoot and laughing echo trailing it away. Sunrise, feel a warmth below me, dawn breaks and I feel it growing. Wings
Thank you.
That was a nice one. So that's recent?
Yep, that's the one one of them that we went out to Ohio to record. That song's about a mushroom trip in a park that I took about, and I was just sitting under a tree and pretending to be a tree, and it like occurred to me that when you sit still for that long, you know, like it's actually like when COVID, you know, when you sit still for that long, you'd see families of birds like have their whole life cycle inside of your branches, and you'd see lovers walking by, and so like the first verse is kind of about how that tree would witness a sun rising over and over, and then it occurred to me like, oh my God, there's parts of the trees that are under the ground too, like they can feel the sun coming. And the second verse starts with, I live down below, a world that eyes will never know, and it talks about like the roots and how there's that whole like mycelium and like underground network of just like communication. And so the music video for that is like super beautiful, just honoring the land that, you know, where we come from and we consume, and, you know, is grateful. I like writing more songs like that.
So is that a theme on your album, or is that just...
No, I'm kind of all over the place. Mostly I write about stuff that pisses me off, and so I need to take a break from that sometimes, where it's like, you know, music is therapy. You know, most of the songs are like, this aggravates me, I'll write a song about this. And that's one of the nicer, like, vibe ones for me. And I've got some, like, upbeat ones, and then some slower, like, ballads, and then one of them we call, like, cowpunk. We have a cool music video for that one, too. It's like this big, giant food fight we had in my backyard, and my friend filmed it, and it was so fun. And that's a good one. So
what, cowpunk?
Yeah, it's like, it's really like quick and fast and like punky, I guess. But it's like I guess you could do like a call, like holler. I don't know, people like jump around when we do it at stage and stuff. So it's cool having our friends be part of it, that type of stuff too. Like when we look back at the music videos, it's like, oh my God, remember that time we got the pie in the face? And it's like, you know, like, and I've got some, like my friend Nick David. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but he's got Nick and the Dirty Chicks, and he's in another band called The Wicked Lowdown, and they're super talented. Talk about a voice. That guy's got a blues voice. He starts singing, he fills that room like crazy, and he's in the music video, and a couple of other of musician friends from like different bands, like that guy Kurt. He's actually is in a band with my drummer. That's why my drummer's my drummer, because I know him. And it was a good time. My backyard smelled so bad for so long. It smelled like, because there was like corn chowder, like clam chowder, like spaghetti sauce, ketchup, flour, everything. And
hosing it down didn't do it?
And that was part of, no. And then the backyard was just mush. It was just like, it was in this middle of summer too, so I just had to wait for like the sun to just dry everything out, because the hosing down was part of the video too. And one of my neighbors, he like looks over at me and he goes, that looks pretty slippery. And as soon as he says that, I know where he's going, because there's like food and pasta sauce all over the place, and then the sprinklers going on top of it. And I'm like, yeah, it looks pretty slippery. And he's like, oh yeah, well, what do you think? You think I'd slide? And I'm like, well, I don't know, knowing full well this guy is not going to slip inside this. But right at the end of the video, he tries to slip inside, and he just goes, and like dead stop. He just goes zero. And it's so funny. And a lot of those screenshots make good like stills, you know, just like share for the video too. There's one I'm just like laughing so hard. I turned to Jesse, the videographer, and I've got like oatmeal and flour all in my face, and like SpaghettiOs and like whatever.
Can people see this video?
Oh yeah, it's on YouTube. If you look up the Faith Ann Band, we have a website, so thefaithandband.com links to all the social stuff. But if you just look up Miller Time or the Faith Ann Band, you'll see us in a tent in my backyard. That was fun.
So just to clarify, it's thefaithandband.com.
Yep. So, no E on Ann.
Faith ANN.
Yep.
Yes. Band.com.
Yep.
And all your social is on there as well?
Yep, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and links. You can download music right from the page. You can buy shirts. You can look at the music video on the page for the Tree Time one, the one that I just sang. That's the newest one.
Well, what's the reason you went to Ohio to record? Is there somebody you know down there? Or?
Yeah, so before we were recording, I was mentioning I took a little road trip up through Maine, and my previous band bailed on me at this show we were going to play, and I just so happened to have my guitar because I was planning to busk when I was doing this little road trip. So I did a solo set and then slept in my car and woke up and drove up to Canada and went around and came down. And the whole time that I busked in Canada, I made all the gas money I needed, so I did pretty good, and I didn't have to exchange currency or deal with any of that. But I had so much fun. And then I came down through Detroit, and I had all these funny things happen. And I came through Ohio. When I was going through Ohio, one of the I live in Manchester, so in that local scene, there's this guy, and he's like, my cousin owns this church out there, and he turned it into a recording studio and a venue, and you should hit him up. He'd let you crash there. So I'm like, okay. So I check out the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and then going along, and I get to Sandusky, and he pretty much throws me the keys to this wicked cool church, and I got to crash there for a night or two. And he's like, hey, come back here with your band sometime. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. I'll come back and record. So, I just get pretty stir-crazy, and I was happy I was super nervous to ask my band to come out with me, because everyone has their own lives. My bassist, my drummer also have children, and it's I'm asking them to, just come out for a long weekend and just do my thing, and it's a little bit nerve-wracking, because it feels like it's my baby, I write the songs and I write the lyrics, and I want my band to feel like it's their baby too, you know. So it's you put your neck out there where you're it's for certain your baby, but if it's other people's baby, you're not sure how invested they are, and you don't want to make them feel like they have to be, you're but when they all came out, we had so much fun, and we got we were man, this is going so smooth. It doesn't even feel like a road trip. And then on the way back, we got a flat tire, and we were yes, it's a road trip. And it was so funny. We're taking selfies on the highway, I'm taking selfies. But
did you have a spare?
Yeah, actually, it was a shit show, but faith to the rescue, because I always carry this Leatherman with me. I just love being practical. In my little bag, I always have all this stuff, and the bolt on the thing wasn't, it was a square bolt. It wasn't the regular bolt, so the tool we had to get it off didn't work. So Fredo ended up using the pliers to get it off, and I was yeah, I just so happened to have it. Cool. And then everyone's oh, well, I usually, it's yeah, well, I really do have a tool on me all the time.
That makes sense.
Funny. Yeah.
I have a friend who's really into those Leathermen and the tools and the stuff. She collects all different ones, and they're handy. She's actually given me several, and
My daughter has one. I make sure she has one, and she always tells me when she's Mom, I thought of you, I had to use it. I was yes. She has a little sewing kit, and
I was looking on the table because I have one right over there. I was using.
I saw it. My son has a small. So I went out to Arizona and drove back with an ex of mine to get a van, and we stopped in this little consignment shop, and I saw the tiniest little utility thing like that, and I got it for my son, and I'm very adamant about my children being useful, and knowing which direction is north based on the sun and stuff. And
so did they watch Thomas the Tank Engine?
We read the books, and they're a little
very,
bit older now.
Very useful engine.
Yeah,
that's.
And hiking, we were talking about hiking. I do a lot of hiking, and having the right gear and lightweight gear, and one thing that can do 17 things is super practical. So I just love gadgets, and we were talking about mechanical engineering earlier, and that's what I went to school for, and just anything that's a really cool gadget, I'm all about, and that's pretty prevalent in the hiking world. All the cool gear that just packs up into your pocket, and it explodes into this does your laundry and it does your this, and you're like, what does it happen?
Yeah, it's cool to go into hardware stores that are real hardware stores and see that kind of stuff, but you can't do it at Home Depot. It doesn't work.
Oh no. And you know what? Working on the bus, I like lived in Harbor Freight for like, there was a moment, and the guy was in the music scene, and he knew me, this guy Mike, and he's like, "Oh, Faith, oh, is this for the bus?" I'm like, "Yeah." And then there's like a meme, and it's like all these different tools. It's like a screwdriver, a wrench, like a heavier duty wrench, and then like a drill, and then like a what do you call it, a grinder, and then like one of those like hot torches, and it's like, I need to take the screw off. This screw's being stubborn. This screw's gonna get off. It can't be stuck if it's a liquid. And I'm like, that's pretty much what it's like working on a bus, is you break everything. And
well, but it's a project. So
yeah.
When do you think you'll be done?
So after this, I'm going to hopefully try to get the frame for the mini split, which is like the AC and the heater. I'm trying to get that on, and then there's a couple like metalwork things I need for the outside, but technically once I have power to it, like the inside doesn't need to be finished like fancy to use it. So I don't know realistically if it'll be this year, maybe next spring, because I'm waiting on people, because I don't know how to do. My dad's like, "Faith, you always jump before you look," and it's like, somebody's usually there. There's something under me. But yeah, right now I have no idea how to do metalwork, and it's getting cold, so I don't know how soon my friends will be available.
You're doing a podcast, and anybody out there wants to help Faith with her bus, please contact her or me, and I'll put you in touch with her. And
I need metal workers.
Right, any metal workers out there who are also metal musicians.
Yes,
you know.
I was just thinking, I need the metalist.
Yeah. But that's quite a project. I mean, I don't know. I would not undertake that myself. It's hard.
And it was fun because, like, while I was teaching, I was, like, having the kids calculate, like, the volume that I needed to heat and how much, like, surface area I needed to have for, like, the planks on the wall and stuff. And, I mean, there's a lot of math that goes into, or just, like, logic, you know, just, like, and then I did a lot of the carpentry stuff because I started from scratch, learned how to use an angle grinder and all this stuff. And it was really... You know, I kind of chase that feeling in a lot of the things I do, where it's like uncomfortable and like kind of scary and kind of frustrating, but then like you figure it out and you're like, oh, okay, this was pretty cool. Yeah. And right now I'm kind of doing that with painting. My dad just got me watercolors, and I'm trying to use like learn how to use them.
Oh, I think I saw a picture of you with paint.
Yeah.
That you did like a little guy with a board head, was that?
Oh, that's the acrylic I'm working on right now. That's a painting that I'm doing off this poem that I wrote in poetry class in high school when I was like 16. And it's going to be called The Modern Man, and it's about how the poem I wrote is like how we've evolved as a species. You know, it's like normally, you know, back in the day before we had like really efficient ways of transportation, it was like, oh, just walk to your friend's house, or you like ride your bike to your friend's house, or some more primitive, I suppose you could say, way of traveling. And then it's like, well, we've evolved. You don't even really need your legs. You can just get in a car, you can get in a plane or whatever. So what good are these? So people get like sedentary, and like their jobs have kind of changed from like caring for their land and caring for their home and keeping a home and doing their own projects to like doing things for other people. But, you know, like as a company, a lot of people are moving towards like automating those people's jobs. So like, what do you even need arms for? So this torso having the legs severed and the arms severed is kind of just like devaluing. It's just like the way that like we've kind of intrinsically devalued the worth of our bodies, you know, as like machines that can like do incredible things, because we've just kind of handed the work off. And it's kind of a testament to how that affects our mental state, you know, because we have all these other things to focus on now that we have so much free time, you know, like we don't have to worry about doing the lawn work because we paid someone. Now we can go sit inside, like, scrolling incessantly, thinking about how we don't have any friends, you know, instead of go mow the friggin' lawn, stop complaining, you know, I'm being blunt, but in whole, that's kind of what that picture means. And so, like, the poisoning of your head, and that's like the last part, and I'm trying to decide what to write on that plank. I was thinking about that the way down.
Well, I was wondering what it was. It looked like a sign.
Yeah, I want it to be a sign, and I don't know if I want it to be words or numbers. And that's funny that, and I see a lot of signs like that hiking. I could do like a destination. I don't know. I'm trying to see what speaks to me.
Well, I think it'll come to you.
Yeah.
Sooner or later.
Yeah, it'll just like show itself, and you'll like see it in your mind, and you're like, oh, finally, I found it.
Yeah, I was doing that last night. I was I put something together in GarageBand and just started sort of what rappers call freestyling, which I don't think I'd call what I was doing freestyling, but I was sort of free associating in order to put together a song. I had an idea, and you just sort of get the idea, and then you're like, how do I put this all into place? And so, yeah, you're almost there. Yeah. So you just need that one last part, and it'll be in place.
Yeah. I really liked that intro music that you made. I tried to GarageBand, and I did not have much patience for it. But, yeah, it's so cool. And like you were saying, it's cool that, I do whatever, like that's cool to me, and it's fun. The more people that I meet, like the more interesting I get, the more interesting the people I know get, and like everyone has their little things that they're like really cool at, and you're like, dude, I'm stoked to know you because you have this like awesome part of yourself that you get to contribute to the collective, and like One Broadway Collective, collaborative. Yeah, it's like a community,
We
and
collaborate, and we play together, and we come up with stuff together.
Yeah, inspire, and that's what's cool too, is the inspiring each other thing. You get like a group of minds, like when in engineering, when you're trying to brainstorm a solution, one person says one thing, and that sparks somebody else, and it just kind of all goes around. And same with the art, and it's cool. You don't even have to be playing music, just being in a room with creative people, you just kind of feel creative. Or even people that like are mindful of their bodies, like gymnasts or dancers, you're like, okay, well, I'm not going to eat all these sugar cookies while they can see me all the way. You just kind of gravitate towards like that good vibration that they're on. So I'm happy that everyone's like finally gathering again, because people were writing a lot in quarantine, and I'm like so sick of music at one point. I'm like, I don't even want to like it was like oversaturated, and some people were like, oh, I'm feeling so inspired, I'm just like busting out these songs, and I'm like, I couldn't feel less inspired, because it was like unplugged, like I got unplugged, like where are the people, like where's like the fun?
Well, what helped me during the pandemic was walking the dog. Walking the dog, you see people, right? And the people, you might be masked, or you might be, walking by each other at a distance, but at least they're there now. What was freaky is at the first part where it was like the streets were literally empty. That was like a dystopian horror novel. It was weird.
We talked about picking a direction and drive. One weekend I had dropped the kids off, and it was like just starting to snow, and I just drove west as long as I could. I didn't pass another car for so long, and then it started to snow, and it was so still. And actually the most recent song I wrote is kind of about this thought, but it's like I could have just driven right off the fucking road, Like I could have just, it was just like really morbid to me, like so unnatural, like why are we even on this planet? And so it was kind of like, I'm so grateful I write music, because if I didn't have the music to let out all those thoughts, and to like, while I'm singing that, like that's enough for me. I don't have to go out and do the thing I'm singing about, but it's like when I've painted the picture and I'm in those fields, I'm in my healing, because I've made beauty out of it. Like whatever that hurt is being strummed, into, like a healing place, and whether you just have to cry, you just have to hear it, you just have to shout, you just have to whatever. I'm grateful that, now I'm coming out of the aggravation of like, I can't even write a song. And now I'm feeling more inspired. And honestly, there's two things that inspire me: being like head over heels for someone, or being like so sad. There's no in between.
Yeah, well, those both inspire us.
Yeah.
So you want to do another song? It's been a little while.
Yeah, sure. I'll do this song called Lullaby. This song's one that I wrote about when I was on that road trip with my ex coming back. I started getting like insomnia again. A lot of people, get poisoned by their stress, so I kind of wrote this song about that.
Sing me a lullaby, put me to sleep. I've been up since morning, I'm starting to shake. I wake up in daymare and wish for sweet dreams as I kick out the chair and I sway in the breeze. Tell me a story, help me find comfort. My head on the tracks, all these pills on the table. They turn me up swollen, with crimson dyed wrist as the dark holds me close and the waves tuck me in. The ice on the road gives me something to hope for. The one in the chamber, my only true friend. I'm thinking so fondly of something to end me, and quiet the sound of the noise in my chest. Please rock me gently, play with my hair till the thoughts are all silent. Fumes fill the air and the light turns to dusk, and the pain meets the powder, a lethal last lullaby, a final adieu. The spark from that match was the warmth that I prayed for as I lay me down and the walls start to burn. I sit and I pray not another day find me. At peace I will be as I rot in the earth.
Thank you.
So what inspired that one?
So, when I was 11, my mom killed herself. And my childhood, I saw her try to kill herself a lot. And I remember one of the first times I saw it, I came home from Sunday school, and I saw my mom. She was taking a nap on the floor in the laundry room with her head stuck in the door. Like, it was like she fell down when the door was opening and the door closed on her. And there was, like, all these pills next to her. And I was young, probably, like, 4 or 5 or whatever. And I remember my dad being so aggravated. He was like, damn it, Carolyn, like, again? And I didn't know what that meant. I was like, why is my dad mad at, like, my mom just having a nap? And, like, why is my mom, like, napping on the ground? So, she had a lot of mental, like, health issues. She had a really rough childhood, like, raped and beaten and all this stuff. And so she kind of attracted that kind of male energy where people just mistreated her. She couldn't give herself the love that she needed and had so much love to give. So, I don't know, suicide was always kind of on my mind. Like, I've attempted it a few times when I was younger. And when I was a kid, I had insomnia. And the doctors were so quick to prescribe me something, and it was like they had no idea I was telling them what they wanted to hear, so I could avoid getting taken from my parents, and that I couldn't sleep because I was stressed. Like there was no stillness in my house. And so when I started getting insomnia again, like with this last ex, I realized it was stress. Like it was so profound to me, and I started getting these headaches, and I've had migraines for my whole life, and I was getting these headaches at the base of my skull that just wouldn't stop. Like, it was like a week went by, and I'd wake up with them, and I'd go to sleep with them, and then it was like 2 weeks, and it was like a month, and it was like, oh my God, I just want to blow my head off. And then my ex started using again, was like trying to like kill himself. It was like this, and I'm like, what am I doing back in this cycle again? Like, how did I get here? Like, and you love this person, you're trying to like be there for them, at the same time like step away, but they don't have anybody, so I remember just we were in the van, and I could not sleep, and I was so maddening, and I started humming that song. Like, I started trying to like sing myself a lullaby, and my mom, you had a beautiful voice, and she used to sing us to sleep a lot. And so a lot of the lyrics in there, they'll turn me up swollen. Like, when they found my mom's body, it had been enough that she had started. And my ex had mentioned, like, because I didn't get to see my mom's body, and I was so upset at my dad for a long time that he didn't let me see her body when she was, when they found her. And when he was like, oh, she was probably swollen, I had pictures she was like rotted or something. When he said that, it sparked that line. And there's a line like when the pain meets the powder, like he was like, snorting stuff. And so it's like I felt his pain. And the line, like a lot of the lines are just like thinking so beautifully of death as like, it'll be a time where there's peace, and like the warmth that I prayed for, like you've been so cold to me. And like if I set my whole house on fire, like there's that warm feeling I have, and like the one in the chamber, my only true friend, and like the ice on the road giving me something to hope for, like sometimes you're just in such a low place that you just like think like it wouldn't be that bad, like my kids, the kids bind me to this, like I could never do anything like that, especially because of how like hurt, it left me,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's what that song's about. And it's spelled lullab, like goodbye, because when you put your pets to sleep, it's called putting to sleep, but it's like, sing me a lullaby, put me to sleep. I've been up since morning, I can't sleep, and I'm starting to shake, it's like all lines of what I was experiencing. And yeah, my ex would like threaten that he was going to shoot himself all the time, so like the bullet reference come up. But it's really taboo to talk about wanting to kill yourself. People are like, are you talking to someone? Are you getting the help? And it's like, in my mind, it would be almost unnatural not to think about wanting, or just even like thinking about like, what if I didn't have to deal with this, and like having that conversation openly, like, yeah, sometimes it feels pointless, but like, when I was driving here and those clouds look like mountains, like if you can train your brain to realize like that cloud I pulled over to take a picture of that had a rainbow on, that's what you're here for. It doesn't matter like any of that. Like, yeah, we can acknowledge that it's pretty shitty sometimes, but if you just look at the cloud for like 2 seconds, you can get yourself out of it. But, people see me and they see like, oh, you're a yoga teacher, or you do all this mindful stuff, and they don't see the internal journey of all the things I talk to myself about in my mind, like talk myself down, and like all these techniques I've learned to calm myself, and redirect my thoughts to not let them get overwhelming, like, okay, they're there and it's okay, it's like watching children play. Like, you can watch the children play and you can, they start getting rowdy, you put them in timeout for a second, like let them throw their tantrum. And that's how I think about the thoughts when they start getting down and heavy. And you just remember, like, there's been another time in my life that I thought the same way, and here I am, not dealing with that anymore. Like, now I've got different problems, but like, it's, even though they're different problems, it's like just a testament to, yeah, those problems end, and
new problems take their place.
And new problems, good thing, right? It just keeps on going.
Well, yeah, that's pretty difficult, it sounds like. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no problem. And I'm super, I think one of the things, like I was talking about people being vicarious, is I really work hard to just push any shame out of me, like sitting before someone, if you find out that they, used to whatever themselves for money, like if you have a deep connection to someone, that person before you hasn't changed because you know something different about them, and I really want people to, feel comfortable saying these thoughts or saying these things that come up, and not feeling so outcast and not feeling like it's a shocker. And I had that a lot when I was teaching, students would feel comfortable talking to me about stuff, and I'd always tell them there's nothing you can't, you can tell me that is going to surprise me or shock me or oh my goodness, you don't wow, it's terrible. You need to go say 5 Hail Marys,
You're not an old school marm.
No. Because people, and you know what? There's so much toxicity in the social structure because we've shamed all these things. People are so quick to point fingers and forget we do that same stuff, and just getting rid of that and holding that space for people and opening the arms welcome to the club, homie, we're all screwed up, we're all figuring it out, guess what, no one knows what's going on.
Well, it's there's a great book I have read several times called So You've Been Publicly Shamed.
Oh, good.
Have you heard of this book?
No, but it sounds awesome.
It's by John Ronson. And it's not a how-to. It's an example of, he's a journalist, and he talks about all these people who have been just publicly shamed to the point where they can't get work. Their lives are ruined. And it's stupid. I mean, because it's got to do with partly the Instagram and Facebook and all these social media sites. And we spread ourselves out on them. And then if you do the wrong thing, that one wrong thing follows you forever. And you got to be so careful not to do something like that and offend the world or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's stories about people who've had that happen, and it's great that you're trying to put shame out of yourself, because part of the reason people get shamed is because they feel shamed. And practical stuff aside, like getting a job and things like that, I think sometimes you do it to yourself, where you are who you are. You've done what you've done.
That just gave me chills. That's a hard pill to swallow, that you're doing it to yourself
right.
a lot of the time.
Right. And it's good to get that shame out and say, well, someone may think I should be ashamed, but that's them.
Right.
Right.
They can sit with their shame. Right.
I'm gonna just move forward and try to be myself, and this is where I am now, and this is how I'm moving forward, and that's it.
Right.
But I recommend the book. It's very satisfying read, because it shows that there's other people who have been shamed this way and who have been embarrassed publicly. And it's a cultural thing. I mean, back to Nathaniel Hawthorne and the Scarlet Letter. I mean, that's a whole thing in the United States. Is
stoning in the Bible. I mentioned I was raised Christian. There
shame. You go. Right, you stone people because they're a prostitute or they're whatever in the Bible. They slept with someone else's wife. Or I don't remember.
You think the sun's in the middle of all of this and not the earth?
Yeah,
stone them, kill them.
So that's. Yeah, I'm glad you shared that. It's really helpful. I hope other people hear it.
Thanks. Yeah, that's important for me. And, being a mother, my daughter is now at an age where I don't remember being 13 with a mom, and so when she turned 13, it was very profound. And my mom, when I was 11, so even 12 with a mom, and we wear each other's clothes now, which is weird. She's my size. When I hold her, she's growing into a woman's body. I'm holding another me. She's my size, my shape. It's just wild. And learning to have compassion for her, because I can't relate to her childhood because mine was so drastically different, and now she's got her whole other set of problems, but.
Well, you've made her childhood better, and you should feel great about that.
I hope so. I hope she can reflect back. You know, right now she's a teenager, so like, if I ask her to leave her room, it's like the end of the world. But she was talking with this boy last night, and I think she's got like a little crush, and so I'm like happy to see her. Because she was being isolated. We were talking like our kids.
Right.
And she wasn't kind of coming out of her room very much. And I'm like, what happened to this little moonbeam I used to have? And now she's so, like, reserved. So
is she on the computer all the time?
Not very often. Well, she's, like, on her phone. But I don't know. She's just in her room a lot is the thing. So she's got her door closed. Plus, her brother drives her crazy and drives me crazy, too. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's a common thing, I think, with kids wanting to be separated a little bit once, they're pulling away a bit.
Yeah.
But they need to.
Yeah.
They need to be somewhat independent. So.
Yeah, she's starting to find herself. Like, she pierced her nose herself. And I was
wow.
You're just sitting there like, damn it. Well, I did the same thing. So.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, around her age, too. And I'm like, well, I can freak out at her, or I can say, you need to do a really good job keeping that clean because you're going to get a keloid, and what's your father going to say? And she hid it from her father for so long because she wore a fake nose ring for a while. And, like, the day that it wasn't fake, I noticed, and I'm like, I saw you be born. I'm like, you'll never get anything by me. Like, maybe your father, but never me. So
yeah,
it was kind of like cute that it's like proof that like my kids know like mom's on top of it.
Right.
And she like gave herself like a little tattoo on her knee. I'm like, girl. But
she gave herself a tattoo,
like a little stick poke, because her friend is having a similar childhood to what I had. So Araya's kind of around that, but Araya is a really good kid. Like, she's not going to be out doing whatever. And I think it's beautiful that she's coming into her skin and kind of feeling like it's her own, and she can, like, I don't know. I just remember being there, and I remember looking in the mirror at her age, not liking my reflection because I didn't have tattoos. I thought I looked too pristine, and I didn't feel it went with my character, and I felt like I didn't want to be treated like a doll or something. And part of why I cut my hair when I cut my hair usually, because I'm like, that's it. I'm sick of being like adorable. But then I'm just adorable anyway, so it's just different. I feel like more like roar when I have like a mohawk on than when I have like messy buns. I don't know. I guess I could still tell people where to put it with messy buns, but
you shave your head too sometimes.
I had like a mohawk when we went out to Ohio. The sides were shaved and the top was pretty low, but I'll get it like a buzz cut. I've gotten it pretty low. I'm gonna grow it out now because I'm bored. That's pretty much the theme to my life. Is like, I'm bored with this. I'm done.
Move on. Yeah. Change is always refreshing. Might not be good, might not be bad. It's just refreshing. It makes things. It kicks you into a different gear usually.
Yeah, for certain. Like, I flew out to California on a whim for a night because I was like, I just need anything other than waking up in my house for like I just need to be someplace.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like the ticking of the clock will sometimes get me. Stillness is a thing that I definitely practice, like being okay with and realizing when I need it and when I have too much of it is kind of finding myself and learning how to care for myself of like, okay, Faith, you don't need to go on a drive. You need to stay home and fold your laundry and like just sit still for a second. It's going to be okay. And that's where the painting is nice because I'm grounding and I'm very just like focused and I'm like, okay. And then with the colder weather coming out, I don't like traveling as much.
Right.
Unless I'm going to someplace warm, which is going to need to happen.
You don't like the cold much, I guess.
No, but I'll do like winter hiking, and I'm just like learning how to snowboard, which basically means I'm just learning how to slide down the mountain carefully.
On your belly, or?
So I like go down perpendicular to the mountain. I'm like, my board's like not even parallel, like pointing. I'm like, this is enough for me. This is fast enough.
Yeah.
Which is funny because like one of the auto teacher at the place I used to teach at, a good friend of mine, like a homie for sure. Like he's so fun. And he'd be like, Faith, you're supposed to be a badass. Why are you afraid? I'm like, first of all, I never said I was a badass. And second of all, I'm afraid of something. Like he invited me over to this new barn he got. And when I quit teaching, I was like helping my friend take down trees. So I learned how to use a chainsaw, and I was helping my friend like paint houses. And so I learned how to climb a ladder. But climbing ladders is terrifying. And that was the tallest ladder I had ever seen. And I just like froze, and I just couldn't climb up it. And he's like, that's when he's like, I thought you were supposed to be a badass. So I'm like, I never said that. But
well, you got the tattoos, so you know.
Yeah, well, like the spinning fire and like the motorcycles and like we were talking earlier, like it's that thing that's like terrifying, that's like a thrill, you know. It's fun, like it helps build your like constitution, like put hair on your chest or whatever. But like, let me just do it slowly. Yeah,
horror and terror has its use.
Yeah. I guess. What's there's a sacred horror to all things grand. I think that's like Charles Bukowski or something.
That makes sense.
Yeah, that's
I love Charles Bukowski stuff.
Yeah, that's like one of my I think about that when I look at the ocean, like how many lives it's claimed and stuff, and like all of the like animals, you know, whatever is happening in there, while I'm just like, oh, look how peaceful the waves are, you know. Like,
yeah, from your perspective.
Right.
But,
exactly.
Yeah. So I think we're getting toward the end here. So how about another song?
Cool. All right. Okay, let's see. Okay, this one's off the first one. This song's actually about the time I got arrested. I got arrested twice in one night. That was the only time I got arrested. It was a rough day.
Yeah.
Been around town where the monsters are lining in the street. Seen them walk, seen them talk like a shadow in the dark. Go around for a little something sweet. Well, I met the devil, had him staring down the barrel of a gun. Had him weak in the knees, begging, baby, honey, please. You ran when you had the chance to run. And it's a dangerous world to get lost in. And it's a dangerous world to be free. And it's a dangerous world to get lost in. But the dangerous one here is me. Come a long way, your fists aren't for shaking, jaws aren't for breaking. Ain't as tall when you got 'em on your knees. And I got no trouble digging ditches in the middle of the night. It's a long, dusty road, and we came here alone, and I'm finally the one behind the knife. And it's a dangerous world to get lost in. And it's a dangerous world to be free. And it's a dangerous world to get lost in. But the dangerous one here is me. And it's dragging me down through the weeds. Oh, oh, oh. And it's kicking the shit out of me. Oh, 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 oh. But the rage that's inside makes me feel I'm alive, and I see there's a monster that's inside of me. And it's a dangerous world to get lost in. And it's a dangerous world to be free. And it's a dangerous world to get lost in. But the dangerous one here. But the dangerous one here. But the dangerous one here is me.
Thank you.
That was great. I like that. Dangerous world to get lost in.
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
It's called Monster and Me.
Oh, Monster and Me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of like what we were talking about. Like if you lose who you are, it's dangerous to lose who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just kind of live through life trying to do what other people say, you're just going to lose yourself. And if you do what you want to do, it's dangerous too. It's a dangerous world to be free because people are going to want to push you back down into where they're at, stuck. So that's what that song's about.
That's great. So we're getting toward the end of this interview and the podcast, and I just wanted to know what advice do you give people who want to go into music or other creative endeavors, and how you get involved with this and how you do well? What do you tell them?
I would definitely tell people just start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. And even people that, I just sketch on the side for a hobby, people that maybe not be interested in trying to like really be outward with their art, just start realizing, the best learning happens, and the most creative things happen when you put yourself out there for someone. And it's scary, and people are like, well, I don't want to share that. What if people don't like it? And that's the uncomfortable that you really have to learn about being comfortable with, is just realizing that other people's opinion of what you're doing can't hold you back. And no matter if you're happy with what you're doing, or you just want to do it differently, just keep going forward. Just start playing along until it, you fake it till you make it, and
right.
Eventually something happens. And that feeling uncomfortable holds us back, and we're, what? It's not the right time for me to pursue this passion, or I want to wait till this. And if you start realizing you're setting the timeline for yourself, just realize that the time will never be perfect. It's going to be uncomfortable no matter what, and you can really do some beautiful things when it's out of necessity, and you're like, I'm just going to go for this and hope for the best.
Yeah, that's good advice. And you've had experience giving advice to kids and children of your own and all that stuff. So
yeah, other
good.
People's children.
Yeah. So I hope that we see you soon again at Songwriters in the Round, or with your band and stuff like that. And I want you to mention again the faithandband.com is your website.
Yep.
The Faith and with no E band. So let's spell that out. TheFaithandBand.com.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I think we should close with one more song if you've got one.
Cool. Sounds good.
All right.
Oh, I gotta find where I put my pick.
Always in the most inaccessible spot, usually.
Yeah, they're always about too when you need them, and not when you're looking for them. I actually can't see the find it. Oh. Oh, here we go. All right. We're back in business. Let's see. What's what I want to do? I'm going to do a cover that I changed quite a bit. And this one's off the first album, too. So.
I hear the train coming. Roll around the bend, and I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison. Time keeps dragging. Oh, and that train keeps moving on down a San when I was just a young girl, my mama told me, always be a good girl. Don't ever play with guns. Well, I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. Oh, but those people keep moving, and that's what tortures me. Oh, if they free me from this prison, if the railroad train was mine, I bet I'd move out further, a little further down the line, far from Folsom Prison. That's where I wanna stay. Oh, when I'd let that lonesome whistle blow my blues away. Oh, when I'd let that lonesome whistle, I'd let that lonesome whistle. When I'd let that lonesome whistle blow my blues away.
Yeah, that was quite different from the
Yeah.
original. It's good.
I call it my own.
Yeah. And, I like how you changed the pronoun of the main character of the song.
And it makes it true because that girl I was named after was shot, so we weren't allowed to play with guns when I was a little girl.
Oh, yeah.
So that line is like, fitting.
Yeah, I wasn't either, actually, as a kid.
Yeah, huh.
Yeah, I don't think that was... I wasn't even allowed to have a toy gun.
We weren't either. No water guns or anything. That's funny.
Yeah. One day my parents bought me a bow and arrow, and that was like a big deal, so, with a suction cup on the end.
Oh, nice. With a little flag that says bang.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. But, wow, that was great. I really
had a lot of fun.
appreciate you coming. And so, again, thefaithandband.com is where you go to find out more about Faith Ann. And you also should check out onebroadway.org because we have all kinds of stuff going on. And you can keep an eye out for Faith to come back and do some stuff here. So thefaithandband.com and onebroadway.org. That's onebroadway.org for all the information you need about your entertainment in Lawrence, Massachusetts. So that's it for this episode. I guess you'll hear me again sometime soon at the next podcast. Everybody have a great week.